This was a difficult speech because the play didn't really have an obvious plot. However, if you paid really close attention, which you had to do, because some of the words were very hard, and I don't know how you pulled this off, with the accent, which was pretty good because this guy had a very pronounced accent, and this guy was more like your normal voice. I don't know if you planned it that way, but that's the way it came out. The guy that was singing over here, Patty. Okay, all right, Patty. I did notice a plot, though. Interesting shift in the plot. From the beginning of the play to the end of the play, it started off looking like Yank was just a negative, beaten down person. And this guy over here was this great, wonderful, positive, singing person. And the play ended up with this guy, which is Yank, getting up and being something. And this guy being a person who was just willing to sit down and lie down and get washed overboard, which was really quite an interesting, very subtle shift in the plot. So I think Dave made absolutely the most of that shift by standing up and actually elevating himself. And this guy sat down, and the juxtaposition of how their positions were kind of represented how the shift in the play went. And I thought that that was really very effective. I don't know if that was intended, but it worked. Okay, were the characters physically and emotionally distinct? Yes, a few times this guy sort of slipped into this guy's voice, but generally this guy never slipped into this guy's voice. Yank was very rough. This guy seemed a little more refined. The crew members were really rough. And sometimes it was a little hard to tell who was a crew member and who was Yank or Patty. But in a way, that's really probably the way it really was, because Yank was pretty rough to begin with, and so were the crew members. The Mick character was more poetic, however, and that would be Patty. And he had a much more clear voice, and he started off having a much more clear attitude, but ended up more beaten down, which was really interesting. Did the pitch or tempo of any character distract you? I did not feel distracted by any of them. In fact, I felt like I had to really listen to pay attention. Maybe it was because I was doing the evaluation, but I think I noticed everyone in here was listening and paying attention. Was the plot of the play clear? I already talked about the plot. This play didn't exactly have a plot. It was more like a shift in attitude. So that was a little more difficult. And how did the speaker build to the climax of the play? I would say that that was with the standing up and sitting down, the positioning of the characters. Did the speaker have eye contact? Not really, but it was intended that the speakers would have eye contact with each other. And what could the speaker have done differently? Probably more practice. You lost your way a couple times in the speech. And what did I like? I thought you had extremely good enunciation and command of the language that was used. And very interesting, you had a new attitude, how the attitude of Yank went from negative to positive, and Patty went from invigorated to willing to just not even report for duty. Thank you.